What's up, guys? Culture Room Podcast. My name is Alex Hernandez, and I'm here with my co-host Sal.
Hey guys, what's going on? Sal here. We got a special episode today. We have a special guest coming on.
Yeah,
I'll let Alex introduce him.
yeah. As you guys just saw earlier with the kind of intro, when we went into the field and actually visited Paleta Bar, and we met none other than Bryan Velazquez, and so we have him as our special guest right now on Zoom, and we're excited to have him kind of just talking business, talking about his life. Bryan's a former pro soccer player, business owner. This does a lot of cool stuff, and he's very involved with the community. So we're very excited to have him on. Honestly, this is gonna be pretty cool. We got some fun stuff to talk about. But without further ado, Bryan, we'll let you introduce yourself, man.
What's going on, fellas? It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I know we are supposed to do it earlier, man, but schedules work a little bit different. So I'm glad you guys still, had me on, even though it's a little bit late at night. But
We appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
appreciate
of course,
you.
man. No worries, man.
It's
I'm a,
work.
I'm a I'm a night owl, man. So I stay up, pretty late anyway. So it's like might as well get to talk a little bit. What I do is I love to talk, so
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure if I can keep doing it even at nighttime.
for sure, for sure. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Appreciate that, man. Talk to us, Bryan. Where were you born, bro? And a bit more about obviously you live in Albuquerque, but talk to us about how you got to Albuquerque. Have you been here your whole life? Tell us about your upbringing, bro.
Yeah, man. So I mean, I grew up here in the heart of South in the South Valley. I don't know if you guys ever been through the South Valley. If you go literally down Bridge and then the intersection of 5 Points, there's some little apartments on the corner, right hand side, and that's pretty much I grew up in that little area. That's all I knew for the first 14, 15 years of my life. I'm from Mexican descent. My parents, growing up, they both worked extremely hard. I thank them for a lot of, the little success that I have now because, their work ethic at a young age showed me, what life is really about. And yeah, man. So I grew up in the South Valley. I grew up with two sisters, so I was the only boy. I grew up in sports. I grew up playing soccer pretty much since the age of 6. And from there, that was my dream, man. My whole dream. And I told my dad since the first time I touched a soccer ball, I was like, Dad, I want to be a pro soccer player. And things, were panning out, man. Like I had a pretty good coach growing up. He taught me a lot about the game, and eventually, decided to make the next step, and eventually ended up back in Mexico playing for Querétaro FC for a little while.
Nice, nice. That's cool, man. How was your experience over there, and how old were you when you left? Because obviously, you're young right now. so to say,
Yeah.
that you're already, you were a pro soccer player. I mean, and being how young you are, that must have been pretty young when you went to Mexico. So tell us.
Yeah, man. For me, I was 16 when I took off, and so, even though I always tell people very often, I'm like, like being Mexican descent, you know, or even people that don't necessarily know like the Mexican culture, like you sort of have like a stigma. You sort of have like, um, that idea of what Mexican people are like, what the Mexican culture is like. But it's not until you actually go there that you get to experience the full thing. And so for me, it was kind of like a culture shock, man. Like, you know, I have pretty much all my family lives in Querétaro, Mexico, so that's where my parents are originally from. Over here in the U.S., it's pretty much just my parents and my two sisters, and so we didn't have family growing up. And so when I went over there, it was the first time meeting my cousins, the first time meeting my grandparents, aunts, uncles. The first time I talked to them before over the phone, but I've never had like the one-on-one connection with any of them. And so I remember, man, I arrived into the airport in Mexico City. And right off the bat, I don't know if any of you guys have been to Mexico City, but the city is like huge, man. And so I was like, what the heck? Like, where do I go from here? Like what is this big place? Like, I'm used to Albuquerque, small city. And, you get to Mexico City, it's like, wow, there's so much, even just in the airport itself, there was like so much going on, man. And I was overwhelmed, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know like pretty much anything. And even the language, I speak Spanish, like I speak fluent Spanish, but it's not the same Spanish that they speak in Mexico. Like some of the words, like it's a little bit different, or they would
It's
say,
more proper, right?
yeah, more proper, more formal, you know?
Yeah.
So here I am, like these little, you know, like growing up, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like this Mexican kid, blah, blah, I speak Spanish. And I go over there, like, what the heck are you guys saying? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it was crazy, man. It was a whole culture shock, man. And so, you know, I arrive at the airport in Mexico. One of my cousins picks me up. And so we drive 2 hours to Querétaro. Querétaro's a little bit further down south. And so, you know, I arrived to my grandma's house, and it was the first time meeting her. I didn't know, like, do we hug? Do we, you know, like shake hands? Like, you
Yeah.
know, like what do we do? It was a weird time. And it took me maybe like 2 or 3 months to really get accustomed to
Okay.
being there, you know? Just
Yeah, so
a
you were just
whole
living there in Mexico, then you moved country pretty much then.
I pretty much just picked up, man. Like it was one of those things that, you know, like I was telling you earlier, I always told my dad I want to be a soccer player. That was my main goal in life. And at the age of 15, a year before then, I had the chance to go. And I told him, I was like, you know what, Dad, I need a year to really focus on soccer, you know, because
Yeah.
the thing is like the soccer system here in the US is almost, maybe I want to say like 5 to 6 years behind worldwide.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean by that is just how the youth system is set up, how the players, you know, even the people in the youth academies, like they're a little bit further behind than the rest of the world. And so, you know, I told him, I was like, look, like over there they train Monday through Sunday, like you have 0 days to rest.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to that, you know. So I was like, let me get 1 year, let me just work my butt off, let me, you know, run every single day, let me work on my technical skills, blah, blah, blah. And then a year from there, I'll make the trip down and I'll make it happen, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was very fortunate enough. One of my cousins was at the time coaching for Querétaro FC professional club. And he got me, you know, usually they do trials is like 500 kids. So like, you know, you start off 500 kids, try out for pretty much 22 spots.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate enough that they saw some of my videos. I recorded some highlight videos and we sent them down, and they ended up getting me to pretty much like the last like 28 kids.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't have to go, you know, make the trip until that time. And so I remember just, you know, playing, and I was like, man, like even you see like average kids over there, they're like compared to over here, they're like pretty much like good, you know?
Yeah. That
So it's
level
like,
of talent's just much better over there.
yeah, man, and it's just one of those things where I think soccer here in the US is still more of like a hobby
Yeah.
versus in Mexico and other parts of the world, it's more of like you need to do this to survive. You know, a lot of like the poor kids, the third world countries, like, I mean, you know, they pick up a soccer ball and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is my way out. This is my way out to help my family have a better life and blah, blah, blah. So it's super, super competitive, you know?
It's a
Yeah.
different mentality for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it just comes again from like the upbringing, you know, and
Right.
for me, like again, it was a culture shock because here you see pretty much like even middle, low class families driving a car, you know, like the little things like that, whatever, having food on the table all the time. Over there was like middle, even like high middle class in Mexico, like they were taking the bus. They can't afford the car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was like, dude, what the heck? Like, what am I into right now? You
Yeah.
know?
No, that's crazy. That is crazy for sure.
So yeah, man. I mean, I ended up thankfully making the team. Um, I pretty much was like on a trial for 2.5 months. So, you know, they didn't want to sign me to a full contract because it was an international contract. And so they essentially were, okay, in 2.5 months, you know, you're gonna train with the team, you're gonna try out, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're gonna go to the games, and then after those 2 months, 2.5 months, we'll do a evaluation. And if we think, you know, you're the guy we want to sign, then from there on, we'll sign the pro contract.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, you know, like sounds fair. So yeah, man, I literally went from training maybe like 3 times a week and then having games on Saturdays to pretty
Yeah.
much training Monday through Friday, having games on Saturdays, and then still having it to go do film and other little things on Sunday.
Recovery and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
recovery, all the little things. And I was like, dude, like,
That's a
like, honestly,
job, bro.
yeah, pretty much, you know, like, dude, I was like 16 years old and I pretty much had a full-time job, you know, I'm like,
And
Like, holy cow, dude, this is literally something from like the movies, you know?
yeah, no, exactly. That's like a once in a lifetime. I mean, very few people get experience that, especially at
Yeah,
16. Like
yeah,
you say, you literally got out,
exactly.
went to another country, and damn, that's cool, bro.
Yeah, bro. So I mean, it was definitely an experience. You know, things didn't end up working out. That's a whole other like story in itself, and I can go talk about like hours on it. But I mean, it's just, you know, I always think, I believe, you know, that God always has a plan for somebody in life. And, you know, I think for me, it wasn't my purpose to be a pro soccer player,
Yeah,
which now translated to me being a business owner.
yeah,
And so I take a lot of the principles, a lot of the strategies, a lot of the discipline that playing soccer for 22 years of my life, you know, taught me, and I pretty much put that together now with business. So, you know, you put two and two together, man, and it's like I'm pretty much kind of like the coach now, you know, in a
yeah.
sense. Like now I'm just like coaching a big soccer team, you know.
Yeah. See, I think of it in a very similar way. Like obviously I've played soccer many years, but never at a level that you have. But still, there's a lot of lessons that you get from soccer that you can apply in life. Like just
Yeah,
like being a leader, being a better teammate, being working with others, learning to communicate a lot better, and
exactly.
learning to adapt to new situations, thinking of strategies on the spot, thinking on your feet. It's crazy how much of that stuff is like applicable in real life and in business. And I mean, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask you, but
Yeah, yeah.
you got it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just, you know, in a sense, I mean, you know, like when you look at the bigger picture in life, I mean, it really is just like a chess match, you know?
Yeah.
Like where can you put this piece together so it fits correctly in your life? Like, you know, if this piece isn't moving correctly, like let me put it next to here, you know, like, you know, different things like that. And same thing you do in soccer, you know, like when your strategy as a coach is not working out, you know, you sub out maybe your midfielder and then you put five, you know, like five
Yeah.
back, throw
Yeah.
one forward, whatever the case may be, you know.
Hmm.
um I think of life that very similar way, you know. And so now doing business, I've been pretty much full time doing business. It's been about a year and like 2 months,
Uh-huh.
but being like invested into becoming an entrepreneur, it's been about 4 or 5 years in the making, you know.
Okay. Nice. Nice. That's awesome,
And
man.
so, I mean, for me, like I always tell people, you know, like my backstory on how I got started, and you know, I get asked this question a lot, is just like how do you get started? Like how can I do business, or how can I get myself, you know, put into the business community? I mean, it
Hmm.
just pretty much always, you know, looking for a mentor, you know. And that's what I did. I met Deepo. I don't know if you guys know Deepo. You guys met
Yeah.
him that day that you went
Yeah.
by, you know. And so with him, I met him through soccer. You know,
Hmm.
I met him at like 14 years old. Before I left to Mexico, I was playing like an adult league soccer on Sunday, and he happened to play on my team. And I remember since the time before I left, I wanted a summer job to make some extra money. And he's been owning the potato corners at the mall
Oh, it's true.
for, yeah, you know, for like 13 plus years now. And so I asked him for a job probably like nonstop. I guarantee if you ask him the story, you know, he'll repeat it exactly. But I literally asked him, I begged him for a job like so many times. And he always said, like, no, like I don't hire friends. I don't, you know, like it just doesn't mix well. You know, sometimes friends think they can get away with things that maybe a regular employee can, you know, like things like that. He
Yeah.
didn't want to really hurt the relationship, you know? And so fast forward to the time where I'm 20 years old, 21, about to be 21 years old. I come back from college. So I went to college in Portales, New Mexico at Eastern
Oh,
University.
Eastern. Okay.
Yeah. And so I did a year there. You know, I was on a soccer scholarship as well. I just, after the whole pro thing didn't really work out, I kind of lost sight of soccer, you know, in a way
Yeah.
of like, I was like, maybe, you know, like this isn't my calling.
Hmm.
But I wanted to do school and I still love soccer, you know, but I just didn't think I wanted to do it at that high of a level anymore.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I accepted the scholarship to Eastern. I come back a year later, and it just happened to be that I go to CNM and I see Depot, and I'm like, it was like right before Christmas time. And I asked him, I was like, man, like, do you have any openings right now? You know, like I'm pretty much a broke college student, you know, like
Right.
I was a shift manager at McDonald's at the time. Um, and so I was like, look, like I work from 5 a.m. in the morning to uh to 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then I have school for a few hours, and then I pretty much have the whole free day. Do you have any openings, seasonal openings? I just need some money for Christmas gifts for my family, you know? And finally he said yes, man. I was like, I don't know what the hell went through his mind. But he finally decided, he's like, yeah, bro, like I have some openings, you know, we need some people. So he's like, can you come this day? Like, I want to train you. And I was like, okay. So I show up, man, you know, pretty much went from McDonald's. I went to school. I show up to Potato Corner, you know, and he starts giving me the whole spill. Like, you know, Deepo's an intense guy, man. So, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm like, what is wrong with this dude, man? Like, he just like always like cracked out or something, you know, like he's just always so hyper, bro. I was like, I'm not used to this, man. And so he's explained to me, like, look, this is how you sample, this is how you get sales, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is going to be your job. Here's what I need you to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so after like the first, second day, I was like, you know, just working with him, I just saw him and I was like, dang, dude, like this dude's got his act together, you know? I was like, same story, man. Soccer player, everything else, you know, didn't work out for him either. He turned into business entrepreneur. And so, you know, I just started getting curious little by little, you know, and I didn't really mention too much things. At this time, Paleta Bar had been open for about 6 months. So they opened in June of 2016, 2017, I believe. And and so, you know, they got slammed in December. They posted a video online that went viral. I think it hit
Yeah,
like
I
a
remember
million
seeing that.
views. Yeah, dude. So it was
Yeah.
pretty much like, you know, they were only three of them working, three of the co-founders of the Paleta Bar. They went from pretty much like only them three working from June to like November, December,
Yeah.
and they got slammed from that video. And so they're like, we need employees, you know? And so Deepo liked how I worked at Potato Corner, and he was like, hey man, you know, like, do you think you can help us out at Paleta Bar after you get done at Potato Corner? And so I was like, sure. Hey, can you shoot? Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
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 Oh, sorry. I think
Okay.
my camera went off or something.
No, you're good.
But anyway, yeah. And so we ended up, you know, doing that, and so he was like, can you come work for me at the at the Paleta Bar after you get done at Potato Corner? And so I was like, sure, you know, like I've never said no to anything. And I ended up with 3 jobs, you know, and I would
Shit.
go, yeah, dude, I would pretty much McDonald's 5 a.m. to 10, 11 p.m. Sorry, a.m. Then I would go to school. I would get like maybe an hour break, go to Potato Corner from like 2 or 3 to 6 or 7. And then I would go to Paleta Bar right across the street, 7 to 9. And so, dude, I just like right there and there, man, I was like, I think the working life is for me, you know, like I
Yeah.
kept switching my major about, I think I switched my major like 7 times. And I was like, maybe this is like the time that I really invest myself into something else, you know?
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy, bro. That's a dope story. How you guys met through soccer and stuff. And I didn't know that you had won an Eastern. That's crazy. So you played soccer there, right? Did you know that they cut the men's team?
I heard that the other day. That's why I was like, a bunch of my buddies from
Yeah.
college were tweeting that. And I was like, man, that's crazy because
Yeah.
the class, you know, where I got signed, that same class was like supposed to be their best class ever.
Mhm.
And, you know, everybody was so hype about it and they were making like a huge deal. And it ended up, you know, the coach that recruited pretty much all of us, he ended up leaving before we even got the season started.
Damn.
And
That's crazy.
so, yeah, dude, pretty much the whole program, you know, we got a whole new coach, and I was just like, man, I think this, I don't even remember his name, dude, but I don't even think he was a soccer like coach, man. Like I
Really?
used to coach like some other sport. That's why I was like, dude, I'm done. You know, like I finished the semester, I was like, I gotta go. You know, I gotta go either somewhere else or I just gotta go back home. You know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Have you seen Ted Lasso, the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where
He's like a football
they get a
coach.
football coach and they send him to England.
Yeah, you're right. And they're like, he's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
mentioned it.
He's like, wrong football.
Yeah. When you're talking about the coach, no, that's funny.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's why I was like, dude, that's exactly what it's like. I was like, man, like, I don't know what this guy's doing, you know? So I was like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go back home.
No, that's crazy. Like you've gone through a lot of things and you have found ways to persevere amongst all obstacles, bro. That's freaking cool, honestly. Like, you went in Mexico, you played at a different school, and then ended up here, but then opportunities opened up. That's God's work right there, I would say, kind of like what you're saying. That's
Yeah,
great, bro.
yeah. No, I completely agree, man. It just, one of those things where, like if you get your mind right and you figure out early what it is you want to do, and
Yeah,
just the biggest thing that I always tell people is like, if for example you guys, if you guys want your the podcast to be like super huge or whatever,
yeah,
the best thing you can do is like, start hitting up all these big podcasters, like, hey man, like, where I'm just starting my podcast, like, what advice do you have for me? Like, how can I make this better? If you have a chance, check it out. Like,
yeah.
never be afraid to ask questions. That was, I think, the thing that separated me from a lot of people was like, I told people, I was like, dude, like, how did you get here? Like, how did you do what you're doing right now? You know? And he
Hmm.
told me his whole story. And I was like, like, he's somewhat similar to I am. So if he can do it, why can't I do it? You know? And it goes back to same thing with the other two guys as well. I mean, they've been pretty much all working 13, 14 years of their life, and it was their first brand. So it's like I gotta absorb everything I can from these three gentlemen
Yeah,
and take it with me on the road.
yeah.
So, out of so like what I'm hearing is there's only four of you who own Paleta bars, right?
So there's the company itself, was three original co-founders. And so me personally, I have just the Bernalillo location, and then we've been pretty much, they've been allowing um, the people that have been inside the company, if they want to, if they see that they can bring something to the table to other locations,
Mhm.
pretty much like do small investments. So for me personally, I invested a little bit in the location at the Coors in Montano.
Oh,
Now I've been helping out the last month and a half. I've been helping out Coronado location, which is where you guys went, and
yeah.
the Conwood Mall location.
Oh,
Um, just because right now during the whole COVID pandemic and the malls were a little bit tough. Um, Now that they're opening the food courts back up, we've been getting all the traffic back and everything's kind of starting to get back to normal. But those locations haven't been running to full capacity just yet. So pretty much my whole job there is just teaching the employees a little bit more of what I do, how to create more sales, how to engage with people. That's the value that I bring,
yeah.
is I can pretty much bring sales through my customer service,
Yeah.
you know.
And you have great customer service, bro.
Yeah.
Straight up. Great customer service. Trust me, I'm not just saying it from uh when we went. I've heard a lot of people speak highly of your customer service at Bernalillo. That's your location, but any location you're at, I've seen you at Riverside and then
Yeah.
at the Riverside location and then at Coronado. I mean, great customer service. That stands out for sure.
Thank you, man. I mean, it just I call it the gift of gab,
No.
It's just like I love talking to people, and one of the things that I learned in the last pretty much the last year was that I have the ability, I have the gift to make people smile, and just make people happy. And so, with serving ice cream is supposed to be like somebody's, like happy place. What do you do like when you're sad? What do you do when your boyfriend breaks up, your girlfriend breaks up with you? What do you do? Like you're like, I'm gonna get an ice cream, you sit there, a tub of ice cream, and you start watching movies or whatever it is, and so I was like, I really want my location. I want me to represent happiness in the
Yeah.
best way that possible. And so
No one's sad when they're eating an ice cream. No one's
yeah,
sad when they're eating ice cream. So you got that right. And then whenever you follow good conversation right there, I mean, you got the great combination right there, bro.
thank you, brother.
You dropped the ice cream.
You dropped ice cream.
Oh, shoot, man. Bro, I made that paleta with a lot of love, man.
Oh, man.
Shoot, bro.
you'll get very sweet talking after that, and it'll bring you back to life
And I
with
always
happiness.
remember is I don't know if either of you ever watched Lilo and Stitch. The
Yeah,
one
yeah.
who was always eating ice cream and would always fall. It would always fall and they miss something.
Yeah.
That's very true.
You
That's
know,
very, very true. Yeah, man, it just, you know,
Yeah.
it's one of those things I love. I really truly like fell in love with just making people happy, man,
That's
and
good, man. That's
you know,
awesome.
having whatever impact I can in
Mm-hmm.
people's life, you know, like, and I didn't even necessarily like think that for me. Um, it just kind of happened. I kept receiving messages on social media, you know, and people were like, dude, like I listened to your posts, you know, like
Yeah.
whenever you say a few things, like it really truly motivates me. Or I post, you know, like I try to at least once or twice a day, if I find like a good quote online, if I'm just searching through social media, like I repost it, you know, and
Yeah.
so people were like, honestly, like your post, like what you're saying, like it makes my day, it makes my day go better, whatever the case may be, you know. And so I was like, well, you know, if that's my gift, if I can make an impact in my community, why not? You know, like why not just run with that gift and do what I can, you know?
Yeah, no, that's true. I see those posts and same thing for me. Like, you share a lot of great, like positive mindset type of quotes and things like that. Very like enlightening for the human mind to just, kind of keep pushing forward in this thing we call life. And honestly, those are dope when you do that.
Yeah.
I see them, bro. They're cool, bro. And I mean, obviously I'm not the only one because you're getting messages from people, but it's really cool to just see that, and we're like-minded people.
Yeah, yeah, no, bro. I mean, and that's why I was like, you know, like
Yeah.
if at the end of the day, you know, two people see my post,
Mhm.
three people see my post, as long as I can do something for those three people is, you know, is what I truly like. I can go to bed happy, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Let me ask you, Brian. So, how did it start for you to become an owner of Paleta Bar Leo? How did that come out for you? Obviously, you had
Man.
probably your own investment and stuff, but I'm sure like you've been working at the company for a while, so they saw something in you, bro. So,
Yeah, and you know, like going back to just how everything started, you know, I pretty much um when the Paleta bar, it was in February of 2018, you know, so this is pretty much already almost a year after it had been opened. I had been working there for about like, you know, 3 months since December and or November, and so Depot comes up to me and the other guys come up to me and they're like, look, man, like, you know, we're getting super busy. Um, you know, what are they paying you at McDonald's? And so I'm like, well, you know, I'm getting paid like 10.50. I run shit and shit. So for for something of a higher position there at the Paleta bar, you know. So knowing myself, I was like, well, I may want to make sure that it's, if they do ask me that it's going to end up being better for me,
Yeah.
you know. So I just pretty much kind of like upselled like my position, you know. And
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing at McDonald's. Like, okay, you know what? We're getting busy. We will match what they're paying you at McDonald's, and we want you to work full time for us. So you need to leave McDonald's right now. So I call them up, tell them that you're done there. You're gonna put your 2 weeks, whatever. We want you to come work with us. And so, you know, I came home, I told my parents, and at the time, one of my sisters was my general manager.
Oh,
So
thanks,
I'm
man.
like, yeah, dude. So I'm like, hey, you know, they offered me this position. Like, what do you think? You know, like, I don't want to leave you just hanging. You know, like, what do you think I should do? And she was like, well, I think if it's a good opportunity, you know, if you're gonna be a general manager instead of a shift manager, then you should take it. You know.
Yeah.
And so I thought about it maybe for a few days, and I got back to them, and I just was like, you know what, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to do that. And so I left McDonald's completely, you know, and it was for me one of those things. I was like, I was so happy, you know, because I was just kind of like, McDonald's is such a dead end job, you know. It's, you get to a certain level and you can't really grow anymore. And so I didn't, I was still going to college, and I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, look, like I'm so tired of college. Like I don't know what I want to do. Like,
Mhm.
what if I end up at McDonald's the rest of my life? You know, like I was thinking like those crazy things. And So I was so glad and thankful that they offered me that position. Now I can get out, you know. And of course, you know, I learned so many things at McDonald's. I learned, you know, how to do like labor cost, food cost, how to manage people, how to run a shift. Most important, you know, when you're on the floor, how to run a shift. So all these little elements that I learned at McDonald's, I ended up taking with me to the Paleta bar, and it was such a new company that I kind of had the freedom to, you know, install some new ideas and do
Uh-huh.
different things with the store, you know.
Yeah, like building the
So
culture.
exactly, you know, we're pretty much just building the culture and, you know, working together, getting the spot, you know, like as good and as good service as we can. And so, you know, it must have been maybe like I want to say maybe like 3 days after I was like starting my full-time position at the Paleta bar, and they come up to me again and they're like, dude, we need you to work like 45 to 50 hours and we're gonna pay you salary. And so this is how much we're gonna pay you and blah blah. And I'm like, man, I still have school, you know. I'm like, I've only been at this like a few days. Like,
Uh-huh.
you know, hold on, let me see. And so I've always been the type of person to never say no. And I think that's what got me so far is every time a new challenge comes up, I pretty much, without really even processing it through my mind, I just, my automatic response is always yes,
Uh-huh.
you know? And so I was like, well, okay, you know, let's do it, whatever. So I was like, let me switch all my classes to online. So I switched all my classes to online. I started working for the Paleta Bar 45 to 50 hours a week. And literally another 2 weeks passed by. And then here come the guys again, you know, and they're like, dude, we need you to work 55 to 60 hours. This is how much we're gonna pay you.
Damn.
You need to quit school, you know, like just straight
Gotta
up
hide
like,
from them next time, bro.
yeah, dude. They're like, they're just pretty much like, you need to quit school like right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, shoot, man. I'm like, okay, like what did, you know, I really sat down with them. I'm like, what is this, you know, like benefiting me in any way, you know? And so Deepo, one of the guys, you know, we had a great conversation and he just straight up told me, you know, he's like, look, you know, I see myself in you when I was your age, the, you know, like the potential that you have. I see, you know, you're pretty much like what I was when I was your age, you know? So he's like, if you truly, truly want it, he's like, I can get you to, you know, take a career in entrepreneurship and, you know, be a businessman. And so at that point in time, I'm like, I was stuck between, you know, like college, not really going so well because I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, now taking the full position at the Paleta Bar, I'm like, well, now if I work and I'm working with these people every single day, well, maybe this is my route to, you know, really do what I want to do. You know, maybe this is like a new love that I'm gonna find and I'm truly gonna enjoy it. And it ended up working out, man. So I pretty much I managed the San Pedro location, which was the original location
I went to that one
for
earlier.
yeah, yeah. So
I
that's
got a
like the,
drink.
oh dude, there you go. That's like the OG, you know,
It is, right? It
that's like
is. I kind of thought it was. That's the first one I heard because I remember PJ is the one that introduced me
yeah,
into Paleta Bar, and I think that's the one he took me. And then I know where he's like, "Let's go to Paleta Bar," and I was like, "It's on the opposite side of town." Because this was another time. It's like now they opened up a new location, and I was like, "Oh wait, what?" And then another location, and I was like, "Oh dang, this is awesome!" Like I don't have to go far to get my Paleta Bar fix anymore. That's
yeah, dude.
cool.
The growth was immense, you know, and
Yeah.
and and it just pretty much like from one day to another, you know,
Yeah.
and I was blessed to be, you know, a part of pretty much every single location, the
Uh-huh.
company locations at least, and so pretty much, you know, I managed the San Pedro location 3, 4, or 5 months, and then they decided to open up the Curso Montano location,
Uh-huh.
and so we had a great team at San Pedro. I lived pretty close to Riverside, and so they were like, hey, you know, like this is gonna be your store. Like we want you to manage that store now. So I did that for about maybe like almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Bernalillo location opened, that's when they came up with the idea of doing like a ownership slash manager sort of deal with, you know, the excelling managers.
Uh-huh.
And so I was pretty much like the first guy that they were going to try this with. you know. So
Mhm.
when the Bernalillo location opened up, you know, for me it wasn't like a huge investment because they pretty much they were gonna build the whole store. They were gonna do pretty much everything, and all I had to do was, you know, invest a little bit of money in it, but also manage the day to day, be there, you know, every single day. That way, you know, they can keep the growth going.
Yeah.
So, dude, it was one of those things where they were talking about the Santa Fe location,
Yeah.
and you know, at this time, I'm like, well, thinking about it money wise, you know, because that's one of the mistakes that I made early on was that I was a little bit worried more about the money than the experience, you know, and so I was like, well. I don't know if there's really gonna be much money in Bernalillo and blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah. You know, I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do that. And so um I was like, what about if I wait for Santa Fe? And they're like, no, like you either do this one or there's not gonna be like another option. So I was like, okay, let's do it, you know, and
Yeah.
dude, for fast forward 2 years later, man, and it's the best decision I could have made in my whole life, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome, bro. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's cool. I remember, I like how like you guys, apart from having a great atmosphere when you go in, I mean, you guys legit remember the soccer tournament we had out. You guys had outside right
Yeah,
there in the
yeah,
little cage. I mean, I played in it. That was so cool, bro. Just things like that
yeah.
you guys do for the community, and I mean, you know, it's just really cool to see Paleta Bar growing around Albuquerque and around New Mexico. You said Santa Fe. I see that they're doing more. I think El Paso got one too, right? So it's even growing to other states. I saw Depot posted that they have one in San Diego now too, right?
Yeah, yeah. So San Diego actually was one of the after they did all the locations in Albuquerque,
Uh huh.
or at least like 4 or 5 of them. Then they decided to take it to San Diego. So that was the first out of state store.
Yeah.
And so pretty much like, you know, now I think they're supposed to be by the end of this year, they're projected to have, I think, between like 30 to like 50 locations open
Damn.
nationwide.
They're bringing it to Roswell, bro. That's where my
Yeah, dude,
hometown is.
Roswell as
So.
well, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we've been trying to,
That would sell
Yeah,
big in
it
Roswell,
would
bro. Because you guys
Big
would
in Roswell.
because that's like literally like before COVID, and when I was living there full time, everybody in Roswell would be like, "Let's go get paletas," and if there's this place called Yoli's, and that's like
okay,
a big spot right there. That would be the competition.
And they shut down for a while.
Yeah,
because
they
were
did.
building a new location or something.
Exactly,
Oh
exactly.
yeah, you may think. I mean,
Yeah,
Roswell doesn't have anything,
yeah,
so
exactly.
you open up
It's a
a
prime
paleta
market
bar.
though, to
Yeah.
be honest. And then maybe
yeah,
even Artesia.
yeah.
But no, dude, that would be. I recommend it highly for sure. And if I can help make that happen, let me know.
yeah, dude, whatever, man. If you guys are definitely willing to help, we can set something up. We went to Hobbs, New Mexico, so there's
Okay.
gonna be a location opening there, but you know you have to pass through Roswell.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Depot for that meeting in Hobbs, and you know when we drove through Roswell the first, you know, going through Hobbs, we didn't really pay too much attention.
Uh
But
huh.
on the way back, you know, when we started really, you know, doing a little bit of market research,
Yeah.
we're like, dude, Roswell's actually not a bad place, you
It's
know,
not,
like
bro.
think about
It's
doing
not.
the
Gotta
Paleta
make
part.
the alien theme paleta
Yeah, bro.
bar.
The alien.
There you go.
Alien
Imagine
theme
that,
paleta.
bro. That would be a hit, bro. Straight up. 'Cause you can do anything alien over there, and it'll sell.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. I mean, it just, you know, like the love from the small communities, it
Yeah.
really, I think a lot of small businesses oversee the potential.
Yeah.
And you know, and I learned that firsthand with Bernalillo because again, you know, like when I first didn't want to do it was because I was like, well, you know, it's a small community, like maybe there's not gonna be that many people and blah 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 blah. And dude, now like 2 years later after it's been open, like we've been built it up to be pretty much like the top 5 locations out of all of them,
Yeah.
you know, and that's pretty much like with a capita of pretty much like nowhere near close to Albuquerque, nowhere near close to Rio Rancho. So now it's like opened my eyes to like no matter if there's a place that has 10,000 people or 10 million people, you know, well, however you set up the location, however much work you put in, you know, that's how much you're going to receive, you know?
That's true. That's true. If you show that you appreciate the community, they'll reciprocate, and I think that's really cool how
Oh yeah.
you go what you guys do, and exactly what you're saying. You know, these small communities, they go. Some people don't appreciate them, bro, but they got a lot of love to give.
Yeah, especially in
Yeah,
smaller communities with
Yeah.
a business like y'all's, where y'all like to
Yeah.
give back to the community.
Yeah, bro.
I know places like Roswell, Hobbs
Yeah.
are really gonna appreciate like
For
things that
sure,
y'all
bro.
do.
That's gonna be big hits. I don't know Hobbs too much, but I know that it's very similar to Roswell and how they
Mhm.
kind of think and how the consumer kind of acts over there because the Hobbs is not far from Roswell, so a lot of people that I know go over there and just tell me about how it is and stuff. But no, bro, that's dope. I'm excited for you for just the Paleta Bar expansion and seeing what else you guys got in the plans, bro. It's awesome to see it.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it just got to keep growing from there,
sure.
and I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by people every single day that want to better themselves, and for me, same thing. Like, I want to keep bettering myself. I always tell people, like, I'm pretty much a rookie. Like, I'm a rookie coming into the professional game.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, you get these rookies coming to the MLS, to the NBA. I'm like, I don't want to just be another rookie. I want to be the rookie of the year.
Yeah,
Like,
bro.
I I just want to put all the work that I can in to make sure that I learn as much as I can, because at the end of the day, I think entrepreneurship should be, about you wanting to better yourself, you wanting to give something exclusive to people, and
Mhm.
also, at the end of the day, like opening your own brand. So now with the Paleta Bar, I've learned so much, but eventually, maybe in the next 2 years or so, or maybe even less, I can, have the opportunity to open my own brand, and
Yeah,
everything that I learned from here, I'm going to take into there, and same thing, to do a big blow up,
yeah.
and keep moving from there.
That's sure. That's sure. I was gonna ask you, like, what are your personal own plans? So you're kind of just hinting at it right there. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you always just got to be, ahead of the game, man.
Mhm.
I don't like to be one of those people that is just kind of like, stagnant or gets too
Yeah,
confident, because
yeah,
I think when you get too confident in anything in life, you tend to, you get in the comfort zone and you stop growing as a person.
yeah.
So
That's
I
true.
always, I always tell people, like, my advice to anybody, like, just get out of your comfort zone. When a new opportunity comes up, without thinking about it, just take it. You may fail, you may, might just be like the opportunity of a lifetime, but if you don't take that step, that chance, you're never gonna know what it is.
That's true. Yeah, I like that. That's very true. Growth comes when you leave the comfort zone.
Hmm.
That
That's
is very true.
that's no, that's right on, right on. And that's awesome, bro. You've shared a lot of gems with us, bro. Honestly, you shared about your having mentors, just working and taking risks and taking advantage of opportunities. That's I see some really cool story that you have, and I'm glad that you're sharing it with us. Very appreciative of your time. Do we have anything else,
No,
Sal?
nothing, man,
Uh,
nothing. Yeah, we thank you. We really
yeah,
appreciate it. Obviously, getting someone big like you on our
yeah,
podcast, it helps.
yeah. It's awesome.
We really appreciate it, and hopefully,
Yeah,
it'll help us grow
yeah.
also by getting us more involved with local businesses.
Exactly,
That's what we plan to do. I mean, when me and Alex first started this, our goal was to not just do it for ourselves, but to get recognition for the community, for local
exactly.
businesses. Like,
Yeah,
we even talked about putting like highlights of high school students on our podcast. Like,
yeah,
just, I mean, the 5 views could make a difference. Like, that's how
yeah.
we
Exactly.
always tell each other.
Yep. It's true.
That's I think that model that you guys have for the podcast is definitely probably going to be the one thing that's going to make you guys succeed. Because I'm the same way. I'm like, no matter how big you get, like, one penny, 50 cents is 50 cents. Like, you should always be hungry to get those 50 cents, no
Yeah,
matter if you have $1 million in the bank. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So when you guys are, doing this, no matter, you're starting off small, you're starting off, getting to know people. So by the time you guys blow up,
Mm-hmm.
you're already going to have that backup from the whole community, because while you guys are blowing up, you're making the community blow up as well.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's the plan. That's the plan. Helping our community. That's how we wanted to call it the Culture Room Podcast. Because essentially everything that's involved with our culture, we wanted to kind of just give back to it. Our cultures who made us who we are, and and we just are so appreciative and proud of it. So, that's why we got New Mexico flag. I'm proud of being New Mexican and, just giving back to our community. We're
Yeah,
very
dude,
proud
I
people.
completely agree. I completely agree. One last thing before we go is I
Yeah.
just want to make sure, people know New Mexico is growing in immensely. There's
Mhm.
so much potential here, and for the kids that are 16, 17 years old, that might be in the same position that I was when I was young and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Just want to let people know that if a kid, from the South Valley, from the ghetto, can make it, to have at least a little bit of success, then anybody can do it. Just go after it and
Yep.
work your ass off. That's what it's about.
That's true.
Yeah, going real quick, going back to when you were talking about going to Mexico City, and you're like, yeah, it was a big town compared to small town Albuquerque. I was all, Albuquerque small? Shit, this damn place is huge to me. There's still places in Albuquerque I haven't been to. I've been here almost 3 years.
Dude, I think it's one of those things where it's a small town inside a big city.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good way to put it.
it almost feels like you pretty much know every single person that lives here, but at the same time, it's like you go to these little different places that you've never been. So, like you're discovering new things every day as you're kind of like going through knowing people every single day as well,
I know
It's
that's true.
weird, man. It's weird.
It's a big little city, bro, but it's growing. It's growing.
Exactly.
New Mexico in general is growing. It's good to see it. I love to see it. I love to see when new businesses open up here, more things to do, and every time I leave town and someone asks me from where I'm from, I say I'm proudly from New Mexico, and don't forget that we're part of the United States, and that we are, we're more than just what Breaking Bad made us seem like, just
We ain't all about crime.
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
It's
That's why I was like, and it's one of those things where I just, again, you want to see. I always tell people, like, I personally, I love to see the good things in the bad things. Like, yes, we have high crime rates, we have like violence and blah 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 and drug charges and all these little things that are bad things, but at the same time, it's like we want to be the people to change that perspective.
exactly.
If I can help some little kids that are, growing up again in the South Valley where I grew up, that are growing up around those drugs and things that I grew up around in, if I can help them out, see the bigger picture, then, slowly but surely you start seeing all these little, differences in the community, and same thing with your guys' podcast, with giving people a highlight somewhere to come share knowledge, to come share, your feelings, and, people are gonna alleviate to them. People are gonna watch this and you're like, all right, man, like, there's somebody out there like me. There's two people out there that care about my business, about my community, about myself, like you're saying with the high school students. So I think together we can make a big impact and make Albuquerque a better place,
Yeah,
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Of course.
Awesome, man. No, thank you, Brian. Brian, what is the Instagram? Well, I'm gonna put a tag, but Paleta Bar Bernalillo, right? That's for
Yes, sir.
location. Okay, and then Paleta Bar Riverside is the other
Paleta
one
Bar
you're at?
Riverside would be the next one, and then the main one, if you guys want to tag the main Paleta
Yeah.
Bar, it's pretty much the Paleta Bar at Instagram.
Sounds
And
good.
then my personal one,
Throw yours up
it's
too.
Principito.b, and Principito, for all people that don't speak Spanish, it pretty much just means like little prince,
Yep.
and it just
That's a nice name change. You barely did it, huh? You barely
I did, man.
Yeah.
I was like, like what would be something to maybe describe, myself in one word. And I was
That's
like,
the
well,
brand creation starting right there, bro.
exactly. There you go.
No,
See,
that's cool. That's cool.
Now you're thinking, man.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate your time, bro. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it,
Of
bro.
course.
Of course.
Thank you
Have a good
guys.
one.
Always a pleasure. We hope to see you guys soon, man. Thank you so
Yep,
much.
definitely will.
Hopefully.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.